Hello everyone, Merry Christmas. Thank you for deciding to click on my video today and joining me as I discuss the NFL Week 16 slate of games this week. With just 2 weeks remaining this season, there's a lot of teams that are jockeying for positions, teams that are trying to figure out what they have on their bench, and young guys fighting for draft positions to draft the next generation of NFL stars. So there's a lot going on this week. And let's face it, with 2020 coming to an end, it's been a pretty crazy year. That we can all agree upon. And I expect an even crazier end to the NFL season. So, without further ado, let's continue. Slate of games is going to be the Minnesota Vikings versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, when I think Vikings and Saints, you can't help but think about the many times over the last several years that they faced each other in the NFC playoffs. The Saints, let's just say they're probably not the biggest fan of playing the Vikings, and you can say the Vikings really just don't like the Saints. And so the Saints can eliminate that problem here and now by getting the victory and essentially eliminating any hopes that the Minnesota Vikings would have to actually make the postseason. But the Vikings are not just going to lie down and let that happen. Led by Dalvin Cook, he's going to be looking to have a big game on the ground, a big impact in this game. Kirk Cousins, it's going to be key to see if that offensive line can protect for him against that Saints defense and give him time. He's shown this season that when he does have some time, he can find his outstanding rideouts for big plays, and that's going to be essential if they're going to be able to come up with the victory here in Week 16. I project that the New Orleans Saints are going to come out on top in this game with the final projection being, let's go Saints 27, Vikings 20. This game is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Detroit Lions. Brady and the Bucs would be going against Detroit, who's essentially have several coaches on COVID. To mention Matthew Stafford is probably still not 100% right now. And Detroit's lost so many people to injuries this year. It's just been a roller coaster for them. Tampa Bay finally got Antonio Brown to be involved, and that paid off dividend last week, and I expect it to pay off again this week. Count on the Buccaneers beating the Detroit Lions along the lines of 41-20. Next up is the 49ers and the Cardinals. Many people thought at the beginning of the season when these two teams played that the 49ers were going to be in playoff contention at this point of the season, given how they made a strong run at the NFC last year and made it to the Super Bowl, only to fall just short to the Kansas City Chiefs. This year, the narrative is a lot different. They've really suffered due to injuries to key players, and it's been a long year with Jimmy being out. And then you have to look forward to Kittle coming back. That's going to be something that's exciting. But if there's one thing that I know about these two teams, whenever they face on the field, doesn't really too much matter what the records are, what the game looks like from the outside. They're going to play each other tough, regardless who goes out there. For this game, I can see Kyler Murray doing a good job. I think the 49ers will still get a little bit of pressure on him. And I think that the return of George Kittle is going to definitely help the offense. You know, their running backs are starting to return. And so I expect for this one to be a very close game. I would not be surprised if the 49ers were to win this game, but I'm going to go Cardinals 24-20. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins versus the Las Vegas Raiders. For the Dolphins, the game plan is simple. With Gaskins returning and seeing how well Ahmad did, get the ground game going, let Tua not ask him to do too much, let him stay within himself, and solid defense. For the Raiders, last week Marcus Mariota showed something that I'm sure a lot of scouts thought they saw when he was coming out of college. But with Derek Carr, unsure his status for the game, he could play, but if he does not, I expect John Gruden to really see what Marcus is about. He seems to have a soft spot for Marcus Mariota, and we all know there's no secret he's not the biggest fan of Derek Carr. So I expect for this game to be a good game, close game, and I'm going to go ahead and go on the limb and say that I got the Las Vegas Raiders winning this matchup with the final score of 27-20. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers and the Washington football team. Now, if you're going off the records, this may not strike you as the most exciting game. But looking at the history that Ron Rivera had with the Panthers, he had some good times there, and then how things fell apart for him, it just wouldn't leave the best taste in anybody's mouth. And I'm sure that he would love to not only keep the Washington football team in playoff contention, but to also get some revenge on his former team. As for the Carolina Panthers, they've been without Christian McCaffrey for most of the season, but Mike Davis has came in and done a good job. Teddy Bridgewater, he's had good games, he's had bad games. You never know what you're going to get, it seems like, with him. But Carolina has showed that they can play with the best of them when they really put their minds to it and go out there and compete. And I'm expecting this to be a competitive game. So I expect for this one to be a very close game. The Washington football team, with Alex Smith, I think he might be back in time for this game. He should be back, barring any setbacks. And so I've got the Washington football team winning 19-17. The Browns versus the Jets. The Browns took care of business last week. They were successful in keeping their playoff hopes very high, I'd say, for this point in the season, especially with Pittsburgh struggling. The division is still up for grabs right now, so the Browns are still fighting to make the playoffs. But if the Steelers mess around and lose to the Colts and the Browns can win, Week 17 is going to be that much more interesting, folks. As for the Jets, you can't win for winning. I mean, I've never seen such angry fans than the Jet fans last week when the Jets decided to win the game. I mean, who knows what they're doing over there. But the Jets essentially coming into this matchup, they really want to see what Sam Darnold can do. It looks like if Sam Darnold can win out or at least show, a high level, now that he's healthy, now that he's back, let's see what he really can do. Surround him. They may be planning on just surrounding him next year with some talent and really just build the offense around him and see if he can take it to the next level. It's no secret. Everything that Adam Gase touches turns to old news until they find another coach or another situation, and then they tend to play better, like Ryan Tannehill. So it may just be Adam Gase, and if they get rid of him, that may be a game changer. But for this game right here, I think the Browns are going to take care of business. I know the Jets won last week, but we're going to slow it down here. We're not going to jump on the hype train. I've got the Browns taking care of some well-needed business here, 31-13 over the Jets. The next matchup here has the potential to get out of hand, I feel. That's right, folks. The Falcons versus the Chiefs on Sunday. The Chiefs, I fully expect to win this game, make no doubt about it. Now, whether or not the Falcons decide to score some points and show off and pass some stats late in the season, that remains to be seen. It feels like something's missing with this Falcons team, and it's hard to pinpoint. Obviously, Todd Gurley's been terrible this year. I know. I had him on a fantasy team. This guy's been garbage. He does not produce. I don't know what Atlanta's doing on the ground this year, but it's just no. They definitely need to address that moving forward. But for this matchup here, Pat Mahomes versus a terrible Atlanta secondary. I expect Mahomes to have a field day. I know that the Chiefs are coming in, having won 9 straight games, and of those 9 games, they've been one-possession games, typically by no more than a touchdown since November 1st against the Jets. I expect that to change here. I've got the Chiefs winning 41-21 over Matt Ryan and the Falcons. The Bears come in this game at 7-5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who now find themselves holding currently the first selection in next year's NFL draft, which is what every Jaguar fan wants them to hold on to when this game is over. Allen Robinson, I'm sure that he would love to get some revenge against his former team in the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Bears offense has been looking pretty red hot since reinstalling Mitchell Trubisky into the starting lineup. They've got some chemistry going with Darnell Mooney going deep, and Mitchell's just trying to prove that they gave up on him too quickly. I mean, he started off the year 3-0 before he got benched late in that Falcons game, and so he's definitely got a chip on his shoulder after watching Pat Mahomes win a Super Bowl, win MVP, get paid all that money, $500 million plus. And so it's got to be eating at him. And then to see Deshaun Watson and to know that he's lined up for a big contract, to see the success that he's had, it's got to be real tough knowing that he was the first quarterback taken that year and he has really not lived up to the hype. But he's doing everything within his powers now to show that he is becoming the quarterback that they're hoping can at least be a starting capable quarterback. David Montgomery's been huge on the ground for them, and so I expect, for them to come out and to take control of this game. The Jaguars, they've had that undrafted rookie sensation James Robinson all year long. He's been the only bright spot throughout the entire season, and so I got the Bears winning this game with the final score being 27-15 over the Jags. The Bengals and the Texans. The Bengals are coming off a huge win for them. They finally were able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. And who would have thunk it? I mean, if Joe Burrow was playing and Joe Mixon, I would have given him a chance. But they really surprised the entire world when they pulled off that Monday night win. Nobody saw that coming. Believe me, nobody. And if they say they did, they're either a diehard Bengals fan or they're a liar. One of the two. In this game here, I think it's going to be a close matchup. Deshaun Watson, he seems to, be finding a rhythm out there passing as of the last couple of games, even without Will Fuller out there balling right now. He's showing that despite the record, he is that quarterback we thought he was. And so I believe that it's going to pay off this week and that the Houston Texans are going to win a close game over the Cincinnati Bengals. My projection is Houston 27, Cincinnati 22. And now, a matchup that really excites the fan base, folks, in the AFC. The Indianapolis Colts are going to be going down to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams are currently on a hill. One team is climbing up the hill in the Indianapolis Colts lately, while the Pittsburgh Steelers are just tumbling their way down the hill. Like, they're just on a free fall right now, and it's really hard to watch. Seeing how they started off 11-0 and to drop the last 3 straight, that is really that's really got to eat away at the team. Like, they've got to be wondering what's going on. Ben Roethlisberger does not look comfortable back there. I don't know if it's just a combination of the pass rush starting to get to him now. Maybe he has an injury that we just don't know about. Maybe it's the receivers just dropping all these passes and it's taking a toll on them. Maybe it's the fact that they can't get a ground game. Maybe it's all the above. That's what I think. But this game, the Steelers still got their defense. They still got their pride. They're still first place in the AFC North. The Colts, however, they must win in order to stay, either take the lead if Tennessee loses or at least remain in contention that final week if Tennessee were to win. So this is a huge game for both teams. Huge game. And so I think that both defenses are going to come and put pressure on the opposing quarterback. It's going to come down to who can run the ball best and who can protect the football. Phillip Rivers has got to protect the football if the Indianapolis Colts are going to come out victorious, and they're going to need Jonathan Taylor to be a big part of this game. I think that the Indianapolis Colts are going to win this game over Pittsburgh 20-17. The Giants are going to be traveling down to the Baltimore Ravens. At this point last year, the Baltimore Ravens were deciding whether or not they were going to play their starters in Week 17 and the rest of the season, as they were clearly going to be the 1 seed in the AFC, and Lamar Jackson would have an MVP year. This year, Lamar's having a good year, but the Ravens find themselves, if the playoffs started today, they'd be on the outside looking in. So they must win in order to keep hope alive moving forward. They must win and get a little bit of help moving forward. As for the Giants, well, this season has been anything but what you can call a good season. You can say that for just about every team in the NFC East. But I do like this matchup from a defensive line perspective and just how the Giants would match up, especially since Baltimore is not really running the ball the way that you would expect Baltimore to run the ball this season. So the difference is going to be Daniel Jones and Colt McCoy. If you got to hang your hat on somebody, I'm definitely going to hang my hat on Lamar Jackson over either of those two guys. That's just being honest there. I think the Giants can fight, make it interesting, keep it decent. But at the end of the day, this means too much to Baltimore, and Lamar Jackson is just a special type of talent that you just don't see every day. I've got the Ravens winning this one 27-17. Now this next matchup is going to be the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Chargers. This is going to be what I think is going to be a good game. We've got, players such as, Melvin Gordon, can he get that revenge victory versus the Chargers? I think the difference in this game is going to come down to quarterback play and being able to put pressure on the opposing quarterback. The running game is going to have to be definitely a big factor as well, especially for the Broncos. But I just think if we're talking Drew Lock versus Justin Herbert, who in my opinion is going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year, I like where things are looking right now for the Chargers. I mean, Justin Herbert has been playing lights out recently. And so he's very calm, he's composed. He makes it look like he's a veteran out there that's been doing this for some years, and he's just a rookie. He's got a bright future ahead of him, and he showed that he definitely deserved to be a first-round pick, and the Chargers made the right call in drafting him. I've got the Chargers winning this game 27-20. In our next matchup, we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Jalen Hurts has this offense looking a lot better. And that is a big problem if you're Carson Wentz or the Dallas Cowboys. But the Cowboys last week, with Tony Pollard in at running back, finally got their running game to look like a running game should look for the Cowboys. And assuming that Zeke's going to be out, I think Tony Pollard's going to have another opportunity to really show what he can do. He's shown that he can be a very serviceable back when given the carries, and so he may be just auctioning that next year, he gets those carries that he deserves. Ultimately, I think that this is going to be a rather tough game. I think both teams are going to have moments in this division rivalry, but I've got the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts coming out victorious 27-24, as Jalen Hurts is going to outshine Andy Dalton. The next matchup is a very big matchup here in the NFC West. We're going to have the Los Angeles Rams travel down to the Seattle Seahawks for a great matchup to see who wants to get first place in that division. The Rams are going to be short Cam Akers, who's been having a great last couple of weeks to the season. The Seahawks, their defense has been pretty good against the run all season long, so that's a good matchup there. Russell Wilson, he's been a solid quarterback all year long. DK Metcalf, he's still having his great game. The Rams, they're hit or miss each week. You never know what team's going to show up. They got embarrassed by the Jets last week. Sean McVay said it made him sick to his stomach, and it should have. I expect for this game to be a close game. This really can go either way. It's going to come down to Jared Goff being able to make the throws that he needs to make, and Russell Wilson being able to get in the end zone as opposed to settling for field goals. That being said, I've got the Seahawks winning this game 24-23. In our next matchup, we have the Tennessee Titans going down to the Green Bay Packers for some Sunday night football. They picked a good one, folks. This is going to be one heck of a matchup here. You've got King Henry, Derrick Henry, out there leading the league in rushing. He's running over the defenders. He's stiff-arming everybody. He's taking people to the floor, on just about every time he makes contact. He's dragging folks out there. And the later we get in the season, the harder that he runs. Now for the Green Bay Packers, the game plan is simple. Let Aaron Rodgers go out there and beat Aaron Rodgers. They're going to want to get up there early and get the lead so that way they can try to limit how much Derrick Henry is able to run the ball and try to just control the game that way. The best defense is sometimes a great offense, and Green Bay has a great offense. Expect Devontae Adams to go out there and to shine, him and Aaron Rodgers. Even though they won last week's game against the Carolina Panthers, everybody clearly was not happy, as they know they can be better and they have high expectations for themselves. So I expect for the Green Bay Packers to be able to get that going early and often. And Tennessee is gonna run as much as they can, and they're gonna make some plays. They're gonna make some big plays, but ultimately, I've got the Green Bay Packers winning this matchup 34-31. Now in our final matchup for Week 16, we have the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots. Talk about role reversal. This time we have the Buffalo Bills entering this matchup late in the season as AFC East champions. The Patriots, however, they're eliminated from all playoff contention, so they're going to be looking forward to seeing, maybe it's time to take a look at Jarrett Stidham. Josh Allen has been great. The connection that he has with Stephon Diggs, it has been one of the most underrated but best combinations this season. They've shown that they've really understand each other. They have something that's really going, and they're, in my opinion, the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC playoffs in terms of putting them out. So Buffalo is for real, folks. And so this is not going to be a blowout. This is going to be a close game, but I've got the Buffalo Bills. As I mentioned, Stephon Diggs is going to make the difference in this game. I've got Buffalo winning this one. Final score being Buffalo 24, Patriots 16. And that wraps up all of my picks for the NFL Week 16 matchups for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave in a comment what you liked most about the video, your selections for who you think are going to win this week. Be sure, if you haven't already, to hit that like and subscribe. And I look forward to talking with you guys next video.